guess I should stop talking. Sorry. I guess I should start talking and stop listening to the music. I was just really enjoying that. Anyway, happy Tuesday. Thank you all very much for coming out. Much appreciated. Hope you're having a good week so far. Anyway, before I forget, good afternoon, Veronica.
Good afternoon, Gimpy, and hello, everyone. Have a great stream.
Okay, there we go. And hello, Birdie Chat, Food Cruels, Lurkers, other people. Happy Tuesday.
Your next break is in 1 hour.
So I'm trying to decide. I don't really have anything to talk about today. I don't. Other than it's Tuesday, first day of autumn, fall, whatever you want to call it, is coming up this week. A couple of days away still. My mom's birthday's this week. Mrs. Gimpy ruined my plans for that one. And how did Mrs. Gimpy? Well, anyway, for those who don't know, every Sunday evening, Mrs. Gimpy and I talk to my mom. She either calls us or we call them, or calls her. And why? Because she lives a fair amount of distance away from us. She lives over in Arizona from us, which is a hour-long flight, or a 6-hour car drive, roughly, or 330 miles exactly from doorstep to doorstep, which is, how many kilometers is that? 500? Something like 500 kilometers or something like that. Anyway, it's a fair distance. So instead of, we don't get to see her a whole lot, and so we talk to her every Sunday. And like I said, her birthday is this week, and we're talking to her on Sunday, and we're getting near the end of the call, and usually we start talking about if we're going to call next week, because sometimes some weeks are slower than others as far as relaying news goes. And so at the end of the call, we usually say, so do you want to talk again? When do you want to talk again next? And it's usually next Sunday. And so this week, though, because it's her birthday coming up, so I go, so should we call you on your birthday? And she goes, and she hesitates, and then she starts to say, no, that's not necessary. And then Mrs. Gimpy jumps in and goes, of course we're going to call her. It's her birthday, blah, blah, blah. And then I just look at Mrs. Gimpy, I go, you ruined it. And she goes, well, her and my mom go, what? How did she ruin it? And I go, I was setting it up so she was going to be disappointed that we didn't call her on her birthday, that we weren't going to call her on her birthday, because I know how much that bugs her. So I was actually setting it up so that she was going to be annoyed on her birthday, and then we were going to call to surprise her to make her day. And then Mrs. Kim goes, she just rolls her eyes at me, and I can see my mom was doing the same thing. So, but anyway, Mrs. Gimpy and my mom get along really well. So it's not your typical, your mother-in-law and wife don't get along. Mrs. Gimpy and my mom get along really, really well. So I'm cruel. Yeah, but my mom's come to expect it. She knows who I am. She knows the shit that I do. I know. I'm a button pusher. If you don't know what that is, it's basically, I know what it takes to annoy people, and my mom is so easy. So is Mrs. Gimpy too. I know how to push their buttons. I can get them pissed off, ready to kill me in 2 seconds, maybe less. It's really easy. And my mom's come to expect it, to be honest. She's kind of surprised when I don't screw with her. So, it's just the way it is. So, anyway, so that was my plan. That was the plan this week. I was going to mess with my mom on her birthday, and Mrs. Gimpy effed it up. So, anyway, watching the dogs roll around. They're so spoiled. You're so spoiled. Let's see. Oh, and in non-scout news, Mrs. Gimpy's new best cat friend. When was it? Yesterday? Yeah, she went over to her parents' house yesterday, and they have a cat. Mrs. Gimpy's scout replacement, we'll just call her. Her name is Geo. Geo is her name. And Mrs. Gimpy called me yesterday sometime. I think, it was during the stream she called me. And she goes, she just gave me an update of when she was going to be home and whatever. And I go, did you find Geo? And she go, because Geo had been spotty on being spotted the last month or so. She finally saw her last week. And, Mrs. Gimpy was happy because Geo's her new best friend over there. And so I asked her today, I go, did you find Geo? And she goes, oh yeah, she was waiting for me again. She was sitting in her bed waiting for me to come back. And she's all happy to see me and all this other fun stuff. So again, Scout's replacement. And if you haven't seen, we don't have any updated pictures of Geo other than a few weeks back and that kind of stuff. But if you'd like to see them, and I'm on the wrong screen. There we go. But anyway, if you want to see pictures of the dogs and the cats and all this other fun stuff, Geo is the black and white cat. Scroll down to the end of the list and then go up about a dozen pictures or so, and you'll see a black and white cat laying in a bed. That's Geo. How old is Geo? Geo is got to be... She got to be close to 10 years old now. Because I think I saw a Google, you know, if you're not familiar with storing your pictures on Google and stuff, it actually tells you. It gives you like little, oh, remember this day, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, remember this day 6 years ago or whatever it is. Well, you know, with the dog pictures and stuff, we go back years and years. And I think the other day, one came up and says, do you remember this? You know, and it was Rocket and the black and white cat, the kitten, playing on the couch. You go, remember this day, blah, 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 10 years ago or 11 years ago, whatever it was. That kitten is Geo's mom. And Geo's mom was Victoria. Victoria had kittens within a year of, you know, she's like a year old and she had kittens. So Geo is only like a year younger. So that means Geo is pushing 10 years now. So, which is pretty good because she's an outdoor cat strictly. She doesn't live she lives inside. She's just not supposed to be, but she does because, you know, cat. Never forget Scout. Oh, there's another joke for that one. So this is somewhat related. We still have the Scout Bell. For those who don't remember, Scout Bell is a motion detector we had up on our porch for letting Mrs. Gimpy know when Scout was here for breakfast, dinner, whatever. Whenever she was up on the porch, we just had a little motion detector up on our porch and pointing basically at our front door because that's where Scout goes or went. And she would, you know, she'd sit in front of the door and wait, you know, for stuff, but she moves around and would trigger the sound, not the sound, but the motion detector, and it sets off a little alarm here in the house. Well, now that Scout has been gone for almost 9 months, thank God, the motion detector is still out there, mainly because Mrs. Gimpy wants to keep it out there because, you know, we live in a high crime area and she's afraid people are coming up on our porch to steal her stuff. That is the highest sarcasm I can ever manage here because we do not live in a high crime area. We live in one of the safer areas here in San Diego because just the way it is. And but she wants a motion detector out there, whatever. Well, there's a detector and then there's an alarm. Batteries in both. The alarm sits in our living room area, or actually dining room. And so when the detector goes off, you can basically hear it throughout the house or a condo. And but there's a battery in the motion detector too. And that battery that battery's never been changed, but it finally was starting to die because it wasn't picking up motion anymore because the alarm hasn't gone off in a while. And I told Mrs. Gimpy, I go, well, does the alarm portion, are those batteries good? She switched them out, so they're all good. And then we, you know, did a little testing with the motion detector and was like, that battery's dead. That's what's wrong. So, but the problem with the motion detector portion is the battery compartment is not one of those you just pop off with your finger. You actually need a little screwdriver, you know, just basically a screwdriver you normally use when you work on a computer or something, that small of screws. And Mrs. Gimpy doesn't have a screwdriver for that, but I do. And so she goes, hey, can you take this off? And I went, sure. And I popped it off and then looking at the batteries, go, so do you have any 9-volt batteries? And she's looking, she goes, no. She says no. So she had to go get one yesterday, and she had me put it in this morning. And it was sitting in the motion, the sensor was sitting here on my desk because that's where my screwdriver is. And so, you know, this morning she hands me their battery, and so I'm taking off the panel and stuff. She goes off and does something else. And so get that plugged in, get the battery plugged in, get the panel screwed back on, whatever. And then to test it out, I move my hand in front of the sensor, it goes off. And I can hear the alarm going off in the dining room. Okay, cool. And then I get an idea. Where's Mrs. Gimpy? Mrs. Gimpy is in the living room. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll wave my hand in front of the sensor again. It goes off again. And then I get up and I start walking towards the living room. And she hasn't seen me yet. So I do it again. The alarm goes off and she starts looking around, and then she starts walking towards the door. And then I come out and I go, I think Scout's out there. And she just turns around, she looks at me, and she goes, "You're horrible." So somehow she still wants to be married for me or with me. Busted? Who's busted? Nobody got busted. And then of course, I say, "Oh, I think Scout's standing out there," and she turns around, she's horrible. And then one more, and just for kicks, I hold the sensor up and I point it at her and I wave my hand in front of it and it goes off again. And then I just smile and then I put it down on the table and I walk away. So, anyway, by the way, we've been married for 21 years. Did you know that? She's seen my shenanigans. She loves my shenanigans. Are you kidding? She loves it. She loves it so much she's making me spaghetti tonight. So how about that? Of course, the hard part or the sad part about that is now I have to smell the not stupid, but the spaghetti sauce all day. She starts cooking the sauce in the morning and she just slow cooks it all day. And unfortunately, the smell is all through the condo. No matter where you go, all you smell is spaghetti sauce. It's just like, ugh, my stomach is just rolling right now. Has been for like an hour or two since my breakfast wore off. So anyway, probably should get going, get started with this stuff. Because we could talk about junk like this all day, probably. Anyway, yeah, let's get going. I got stuff to do. We got all kinds of stuff to do. Helps to get the game started, though. So, Starfield.